Hello, welcome to Thor Talk, the show all about Marvel's resident God of Thunder. On this episode of Thor Talk, it's a Thor Talk Halloween Special. This year, All Hallows Eve falls on a Thursday, Thor's Day, and we have two horrifying Thor tales for this season on Thor Talk.
I am Thor the Thunderer, son of Odin, prince of Asgard, and this world is under my protection.
Our first tale of horror takes place in Avengers Classic number 5 on a stormy night in Shreveport, Louisiana. At the Veterans Care Hospital, an old man with no legs sees Captain America on the television, and he asks his nurse to turn up the volume. He tells his nurse that he once knew the good captain. The nurse is doubtful, as every other resident of the hospital claims to have known Captain America. But the old man is not so feeble-minded. He will never forget that day in Bastogne, Belgium, when he ran as fast as his legs would carry him, back when he still had legs. He was terrified, and would have run for the rest of his life had he not heard the sound of the gun. A swift death would be imminent if the gun belonged to the Germans, but unfortunately, it belonged to Allies. The captain questioned the man as he frantically tried to warn them of what approached. The soldiers debated if the man was a coward or simply insane. The captain would not run from a fight either way, and had the man lead them to where it happened. It was a massacre. Bodies were strewn across the battlefield, German and Allies alike. The captain pressed the man, who explained that a monstrous wolf emerged and began to slaughter everything in its path. As soon as he saw the beast, he ran. The man now lamented how the captain must think him yellow, a coward. The soldiers have decided that the man is both insane and a coward. But as they chuckled at their observation, they didn't notice the black mass running towards them. The wolf tore through the first soldier, killing him in its massive maw. The rest of the men fired at it, but the bullets bounced off the creature's coat. The captain threw his shield, but it fell harmlessly to the ground, leaving the captain defenseless. The captain ordered his men to fall back as the monstrous wolf pursued them. It lunged for the captain, but the man who once ran from the beast now stepped forward, placing himself between the captain and certain death. The wolf has little mercy for heroes, grabbing the man in its massive maw. Wolf of Fenris, slip thy bonds again, mayhap freed by another. No matter, Thor shall see thee caged again! The captain and the man look on in a mix of awe and horror as the sky itself warred with the wolf. Ah, thou hast the stink of my lying brother Loki, beast. Was it he who loosed thee from Asgard? Be it so, and I shall punish two filthy curs this day. The wolf is wrestled to the ground, and his mouth is muzzled by the mighty son of the sky, who then hoisted the brother of death high above his head and smashed it into the ground. He grabbed his fallen foe and took the great wolf back to his domain with parting words that shan't be forgotten. Come, spawn of trolls, back to Asgard and a stronger leash. Let us leave these screeching mortals to their own time of woe. Silence fell over those left behind. Silence broken when the captain spoke to the man who had his legs taken by that accursed wolf. You're not yellow, friend. Not yellow, mumbles the old man as he watches the storm tear through the Louisiana sky. Our second tale comes from Marvel Comics Presents number 63. The Vikings found America and made attempts to colonize this land. Little is known why these colonies failed, but if you were in the right time and place, you would find a woman by a fire, and she would tell you the tale of what happened to those people. The tale of gods of light and darkness. It began with a girl, no older than 16, kneeling in prayer by a fire. She prays for salvation from the gods, as her people have become consumed by darkness. Before she can finish her prayer, her people find her, and her scream rings throughout the land. But her prayer did not fall on deaf ears. The heavens' anger seared the skies, delivering a storm child, a fierce and terrible god of light and wrath unto the earth's shivering bosom. His smoldering eyes pierced the darkness, discovering nothing. He entered the rough shelter that had once been consecrated to his worship, and found that for which he searched. He found half of his people dead, and the other half found him. "Vampire!" he cried. The skulking acolytes of darkness realized their mistake. This was no cowering maiden, but a god. The Thunderer grabbed one of those vile creatures and demanded to know where his master was. The vampire burst into flames at the mere touch of the god he had once worshipped. But his master was indeed close. An ancient creature, older than even the god of thunder himself. For before there was Dracula, there was Varney, lord of the vampires. 'Twas he who turned the god's people, and 'twas he who incurred the Thunderer's wrath. A battle was begun the likes of which the world had never seen. Varney swung his monstrous claws at the Thunder God, boasting of how he would taste his blood. The Thunderer took to the sky, and Varney followed. Long into the dark night the gods warred, until the god of thunder, who at the time was faring badly, saw the light. With his enchanted hammer, he opened a whirling vortex in the fabric of space. On one side of the vortex lay the vampire lord. On the other, the surface of the living sun itself. Through this cosmic rift, pure sunlight poured forth, searing the darkness. A stench unimaginable rose from the roasting flesh of the dark god. But Varney believed that it was not yet his time to face oblivion. So that accursed creature of the pit fled with chilling laughter. One last task remained for the god of light: purification by fire. He directed the scorching rays of sunlight on what had once been his people, until only ashes remained. When she has finished her tale, the woman by the fire will tell you her part in this story. She was the maiden who called for the god of light who drove back the dark god, and she regrets that more than anything, for she is responsible for her master leaving. Now she turns to the colonists of Roanoke that she has turned, and bids them to follow her into the night to seek out their master. And so they leave the colony of Roanoke without a trace, save one. On a tree is written the name that once belonged to Varney, Croatoan. A final tribute to their dark master. Well, that's all for this episode of Thor Talk. If you want to keep up with and support Thor Talk, you can do so by simply subscribing. Once again, I'd like to formally state that all art and video is owned by its respected companies, and I own none of it. With that said, see you next time on Thor Talk, where...
You'll be holding